Hello, I am Mr. Rogers and welcome to the video lecture for section 1-4 in our book on electricity and magnetism, and this is on electromagnets. So if you remember in the previous video lecture, we talked about electricity. And so what we're doing today, we're bridging that gap, remember, between magnetism and electricity, and now we are putting them both together in what we call electromagnets. Today is the topic. And in this video cast, real quick, we're going to talk about some of the basic parts of an electromagnet and how they work, what makes them function and so powerful. So, simply put here, a solenoid is one part of an electromagnet, kind of the base of the whole thing. And a solenoid is a current-carrying wire with many loops. And I got a nice little image of this one here. So simply put, we've got a wire and many loops here going through. And what this does, if you remember from last time, we talked about how electricity running through a wire does produce a magnetic field, how it pushes that compass around. And so you can see here, if you make many coils, what that does is it multiplies the magnetic force in the magnetic field. You can see inside here, that's where the field is going to be the strongest, inside that coil. And you can see it looping around from what would be pole to pole. And the current is flowing through the wires. You can see it flowing in and out. So the electricity is flowing through it. And what this can do is kind of the basis of how we can create a very powerful magnet using electricity. And so a solenoid creates a magnetic field that can be turned on and off by switching the current on and off. So simply turning the power on and off will create that very powerful magnet. And so what this does, we create an electromagnet. And we say an electromagnet, simply put, is a solenoid with a ferromagnetic core. And if you remember from earlier in the unit, ferromagnetic means something that can become magnetized. And the two big metals here on Earth that can become magnetized are iron and nickel, are really the two big ones we look at, and mostly iron. So what happens inside an electromagnet, the temporary magnetic field of an electromagnet is produced by the current in the wire and the magnetic core. And we can take a look at this here real quick. Simply put, here's our wire in blue, wrapped around would be probably an iron core inside the middle. And when the power is turned on, this metal becomes magnetized and creates a very powerful, what can be a very powerful magnet by the electricity magnetizing the iron inside. So we say that iron is induced, idea of induction. The magnetic field of the coils induces the iron to become magnetized and produces a very strong magnetic field. So again, an electromagnet is a strong magnet that can be turned on and off. And so the big question we're going to answer still on the next page here is, how can we make it stronger? We want to make it a really powerful electromagnet. A few things we can do to increase the strength of an electromagnet. We can add more loops around the core. The more of those loops we add, the more we multiply that force of the electromagnet. Keeping those coils very close together keeps the magnetic field tighter and creates a more powerful field. Use a stronger ferromagnetic core material. So using material that's, almost 100% iron would probably be the best, but using a higher concentration in that alloy metal. And then, of course, increasing the amount of electric current. So the more charge running through that wire, the more magnetism it's going to produce. And that can also help create a more strong electromagnet. So what we get in the end, again, here's our solenoid. We have the current going through. You can see it running through the wire, coming out there. And inside the middle is our, the more lines we have closer together, that is an indication of a very strong magnetic field. And that does loop around like a typical bar magnet would. Then we insert that, usually again some type of iron or nickel, they're two most magnetic metals, and it becomes an electromagnet. And what it can do then, here's kind of a simple picture of what we might get like in a junkyard or recycling center, is here's our electromagnet. I think these look like metal scraps to me. But again, you're able to make a magnet that is much stronger than any one in nature would ever be, because you're able to just multiply the force of the magnetic field by manipulating the wire and the metal and the amount of electricity flowing through it. We can produce very strong magnets that can do this. So that's a very small video lecture, I know. That's okay. We are going to stop here on electromagnets, and have a good day.